Welcome back to the GTN show. It is that time of year where we just have stellar racing every weekend.
Yeah, we have the men's European Ironman Champs at Frankfurt, plus WTCS Montreal in a new format, plus more.
Yeah, sadly, after 2 attempts already, it's looking like Flora Duffy will unfortunately not be going to the Ironman 70.3 World Championships. And the big German showdown that we were looking forward to at Challenge Roth this coming weekend is now unfortunately missing one of those big names on the start list.
Yeah, and we're also discussing a controversial disqualification at Ironman Frankfurt. So let's get into it. All right, starting with some of the stuff we've noticed on the internet over the last week. And as Mark said, some bad news from Flora Duffy. As we know, she was going to do 70.3 Chattanooga with an attempt to qualify for 70.3 World Champs in November, which we'd love to see, an Olympic gold medalist racing at 70.3 World Champs. Unfortunately, she contracted COVID literally on the eve of that race and had to pull out of that one. She's fit and well again, so she travelled to Montreal this weekend to the 70.3 to again attempt to get her 70.3 slot for those World Champs, and this time her bike didn't show up. So she flew out on, I think, the Friday. On the Saturday morning, her bike still hadn't arrived. On the Saturday evening, they said her bike was going to arrive. It was on that flight, so her husband, Dan, drove all the way back to the airport to find only her disc wheel had arrived and not her bike. So she couldn't start the race. And unfortunately, she has now not qualified for 70.3 World Champs and pretty much run out of opportunities to do that.
Yeah, and it kind of begs the question. I mean, she actually got a wildcard spot for St. George for the Ironman World Championships. That's what they do for the reigning Olympic gold medalist. But she hasn't got one for the 70.3 Worlds. And it would be really exciting to have her there.
It would be very good for the race. And you can't really see anyone, I mean, other than taking their prize money and potentially their win, anyone complaining at saying Flora Duffy doesn't deserve her wildcard slot to go to the 70.3 World Champs. I think everyone would agree that she deserves it and should be there in these situations that are outside of her control. And she has made a valid attempt to try and get there. We'd like to see her there, but obviously it's not our decision.
Yeah. Some other sad news is that Sebastian Kienle has announced that he will not be competing at Challenge Roth. Obviously, we were looking forward to a big German showdown there with the likes of Patrick Lange, Jan Frodeno and Sebi. But unfortunately, he contracted COVID just before St. George, the Ironman World Championships.
Just after.
Just after, yes, of course, because he raced. He didn't feel quite on form in the Ironman World Championships. Then just a few days later said that he had COVID. And he's had essentially 3 weeks out from training and then just got back going and then had a bike crash.
Yeah, he's nothing serious in the bike crash, thankfully, just a few scrapes and bruises. But he has put into stark reality how he's not quite fit enough to go up against these strong guys. He did reiterate, though, at the end of his statement that he is very much still looking for race wins. He has announced his imminent retirement in 2023, but he's still looking for race wins in 2022, despite these setbacks.
Yeah. Well, Paula Findlay has added another very impressive result to her palmarès. She has just she has become Canadian TT champion. So she was actually down to race the road race and actually decided with her coach that being a few weeks out from Edmonton, the risk of maybe getting caught up in a crash, etc., she'd stay away from that and just do the TT. And she won by around 37 seconds. So clearly in good form.
Yeah, in good form going into that PTO Edmonton race. More about that in a minute. Now it's time for our Tri News and all things triathlon around the world. Starting with this, in Monterey Bay in California, a triathlete was attacked by a shark. His name is Steve Brummer. He's a 62-year-old swimmer and triathlete, and he says he's swum in this bay pretty much once or twice a week for 10 years, and he got pretty unlucky. He got bitten by a shark, and he says the shark bite was unlucky, obviously, aren't they all? But after that, I've just had so much luck, and he was lucky because right next to him, very near to him in the water, was a policeman and a nurse on stand-up paddleboards. So they got to him really quickly. They got him on the sup and they got him in to the beach. And on the beach, there was a doctor and a nurse on the beach. So they tourniqueted him up and wrapped him up while they waited for the ambulance. And then the ambulance managed to stitch him up. He also was lucky in that his injuries, there was no damage to any major arteries, bones or organs, and he's expected to make a full recovery. I mean, if you're going to get attacked by a shark, that's about as lucky as you can get.
That really is.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We wish him well.
Definitely do. Now, just before we mentioned about Paula Findlay preparing for Edmonton in just a few weeks' time, that is the first round of the PTO Tour, the Canadian Open, taking place in Edmonton on the 24th of July. And it's just been confirmed that we've got the men's PTO world rank number 1 and 2 on that start list. Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Iden. Now, we've been wanting to see this matchup for a while, obviously. In St. George, they should have been duking out there together. Unfortunately, Gustav got ill just before it. So this is going to be a really exciting race. They're going to be racing over the 100K course or distance. So it's a 2K swim, 80K bike, and an 18K run. Gustav's obviously got some form over this distance, having done very well at the Collins Cup last year. He's also just recently won the championship event in Samarin. And then, meanwhile, we've had Christian going
won everything.
7 and breaking and winning everything. So, yeah. Joining them, though, we've also got Paula Findlay, as I mentioned, Lionel Sanders, Laura Phillip, and Daniel Bacard, and Taylor Knipp.
Yeah, quite a stacked field there. That's going to be exciting racing. In some more news, Ineos Grenadiers have teamed up with Eliud Kipchoge to start a cycling academy. This is obviously an effort to tap into Kenya's famed endurance potential and create the next cycling superstars. It's going to be called the Ineos Eliud Kipchoge Cycling Academy, and yeah, they're going to have everything you need to create the next future cyclist. I think if you've got the best runner in the world and the best cyclist teaming up, I mean, do you think maybe they can put a pool in there and we can create?
Well, it's apparently so. It's based out of the Kaptagat training centre, which Eliud's set up a number of years ago. It's his sort of running centre. So, yeah, I mean, I've heard it's really cool.
Yeah, we just need someone to put in a 50-metre pool there, and we are talking.
I wonder if they'll scout Christian's running pacemaker.
Oh yeah, he can be the first enrolled, the man who cycled next to Christian for that sub-7 attempt.
Might just need to work on his bike skills a little bit first.
Yeah, I think that'll be the first protocol.
A really nice bit of news though this weekend was the Royal Marines hosted a rehabilitation triathlon down on Plymouth Hoe. Now the idea of this was basically bringing together injured armed personnel and veterans of the Royal Marines and Army, etc., and basically bringing them together in this really cool event. And basically got to swim, bike, and static row. A lot of these personnel, when they are injured, they become quite isolated. They sort of leave their squadrons. So it's actually a really nice opportunity to bring them all together. So a great initiative by them, and obviously raising money in the course of it.
Yeah, there are 200 personnel taking part in the first time. So big future, I think. It's pretty cool. Okay, now it's time for What the Tech. And today we have the Ceramic Speed OSPW Aero, which we actually featured. We saw before it was released when we were in St. George. We did it on our tech feature there, and I got to see it in the flesh. In fact, them installing it on Cameron Worth's bike while I was right there. They had 5 at the time, and now they've released it to the general public with much fanfare. Now they say that it's saving 40% over a standard derailleur cage. Now, a standard derailleur cage counts for only about 1% of the drag of a bike, so that's not a very big saving. What they say is that it's going to save you up to 7.2 seconds over a 40k time trial, and even if you're not at the pointy end of the field, at 30 kilometers an hour over an Ironman distance, it could save you up to a minute. And that is all for the very eye-watering price of €739. Now I'll take a little bit of I'll question a little bit maybe their numbers here, because I tried to do the maths in my head, and if it's saving you 40% over a standard cage that is only 1% of your normal drag, but it's also saving you 7.2 seconds, that equates to doing the whole 40k time trial in 30 minutes.
Well, we'll wait to be proven.
An hour, which is pretty fast.
I think we just have to wait to be proven.
I don't think I can ride that fast.
Apparently, they've been working very closely with Simon Smart from Drag to Zero on this for the last couple of years. So he's been keeping this one quiet. The outer cage material is carbon reinforced polyamide, and the pulleys are aluminium, as they are already in a lot of the Ceramic Speed OSPW jockey wheels. They've got 3 options. They've got 2 Shimano options and, of course, a SRAM Red Force Axis option. No news on a Campagnolo option at at the moment. But as James says, €739.
Yeah, I will say though, they do look pretty cool.
They do look good, don't they? We also have 3D printed protein bars.
Yeah, now this is interesting. The company is called Nourished, and I'm not sure you really need 3D printed food or protein bars. They claim that you can create up to 420 flavor combinations with this. Essentially, it's an online tool where you build your own protein bar and then they 3D print it for you. You can choose from 15 base flavors, such as mint extract, chocolate sauce, strawberry coulis, and then you can add another flavor to that. There's 14 other options which you can add to that, and then you can choose whether you have white chocolate or vegan milk chocolate on top of that to create up to 420 flavor combinations. And they say that it's to combat flavor fatigue. Basically, if you get bored of what you're eating, you can build your own. You can also create your own wrapper for it with your own name on it so that everyone knows that they're your custom printed 3D.
Quite interesting.
It is interesting.
Like creating a cocktail.
Yeah. They retail for $4.17 per bar, which is not particularly cheap, as you would expect from a custom-made bar. But is this the future of food? Yeah.
Well, maybe we should try it out. Now, spotted in the wild, some Mizuno prototype carbon shoes with a mega rocker have been spotted. It looks like they were spotted in Montreal with this rather fancy paint job sort of like design on it, which
obscuring.
I think it's like a contour obscuring sort of design, quite similar to one that we saw on Craft a couple of years back. But yeah, I mean, looks like a big stack height. Maybe they're trying to hide that.
Serious rocker. Yeah, it's really hard to stand still in those. You're going to be falling forward or backwards the whole time.
So yeah, excited to see those ones come out. Now moving on, we've got a very exciting swimsuit. Now this comes from A3 Performance, which isn't a brand I've actually heard of before, but they claim this is the fastest suit ever made. So it's called the Phenom. This comes after years of industry research and innovation, and the big thing that separates this suit from previous suits within the swimming world and racing full stop is that it has something called slipstream water management technology that pulls upon hydrophilic water treatment.
Which is interesting because traditionally all these speed suits are hydrophobic, as in they push the water away. This has got a hydrophilic treatment, which means it works with the water and creates a boundary layer around the suit. And then they combine this with these fabric channels that channel the water past the suit, creating lift and increasing the efficiency. And they claim it is the fastest suit in the world.
Yeah, we've seen this being used in some of the FINA races just recently, and maybe it's something we could see coming into triathlon too. I mean, it's very exciting. It sounds awesome, so we can't wait to see. Still in the swimming world, we have a giveaway. So the other week, we announced a Form giveaway. We were handing out an annual subscription to Form with all their planned workouts, etc., and of course, a set of goggles. And we have 2 lucky winners.
Yeah, and those winners are Tara McLaren and Zolchko Cotter.
Yeah,
congratulations, guys, and enjoy your new Form goggles. All right, now it's time for your race news, and there's a lot of it this week. If you've been out there racing, don't forget to let us know, and you can upload some of your photos to us. We'd love to see what you've been up to, even if it's traveling to race or preparing for races. We love your content.
Or just get involved in the comment section. Let us know what you're preparing for. If you've just raced, you've got a race coming up.
Yeah,
love to hear.
Exactly. All right. On to the results. First, we had 70.3 European Championships in Elsinore in Denmark. Daniel Bakkegaard took the title there, 70.3 European champion. Mickey Tagholt in second, and Pablo de Pena Gonzalez in third.
Yeah, on the women's side, it was Emma Pallant-Brown that took the win there, ahead of Ashley Gentle, and in third, India Lee.
We also had the Ironman European Championships on the same day for the men. The women had theirs a few weeks ago in Ironman Hamburg. But in Frankfurt, it was the men's turn. Denis Chevrot taking the European title there, with Robert Wilkowicki from Poland in second and Clement Mignon from France in third.
Brilliant racing, and a fantastic win by Daniela Blemmel for the win on the women's side. Nikki Bartlett in second, and Dimitri Lee Duke in third.
Yeah, interesting little discussion point here that we mentioned earlier. South African Brad Weiss was disqualified during the bike. And now he put a story on Instagram where he explained the situation. Essentially, I was kind of tracking him and he just disappeared, and I thought, oh, he's had a bad day. But it turns out what happened was it was very busy. There was quite a big group of men. Towards the end of the aid station, he finally managed to grab a bottle of water. He sprayed a little bit on himself, squirted it into his hydration system, and then tossed it. And he had already exited the litter zone, which was only about 50 or 100 meters long. And immediately the head referee came up to him and gave him a red card and said, "You're out, disqualified, end of race, no 1 minute penalty, 2 minute penalty." And he was essentially taken out of his race, which is very harsh, especially when you see the pro peloton and there's just bottles flying all over the place. Now, there are rules.
Yeah, and this is the tough thing, that a line literally does need to be drawn, doesn't there? Because otherwise, where does that line stop when you get into age group racing? And these guys are there almost like role models, and if they're breaking the rules, then why should you abide by those rules?
Exactly.
So I can totally understand this, but from what I understand, it was literally, a few meters after. And this, he's traveled a long way to this race.
Yeah, the punishment doesn't really fit the crime on this one. I mean, yes, we're obviously trying to keep a cleaner planet and we're trying to not litter and everything like that. And these races do have a responsibility to the places that they're in to keep them clean. And you can't expect a whole litter brigade to go over a whole 180 Ks, so they have to have these litter zones. But for a professional athlete trying to make their living out of this, to be pulled out of the race where you could potentially have earned thousands of dollars is a little bit harsh for dropping a bottle a few meters, even a few 100 meters outside of a litter zone. The fact that they are professionals should find, I think, in my opinion, a professional penalty. And the professional penalty would obviously then be financial. So slap them with a fine, much like they do in the UCI. Yep. $200, $300, you litter, you're going to get money taken out of your prize purse or out of your next race or added to your license fee for the next year, whatever it might be, rather than ending their race, throwing away weeks, months of training for one event and no Kona qualification, whatever else the consequences might be for being pulled out of a race for one bottle been thrown in the wrong place. It seems a little bit harsh.
Yeah, well, we'd love to hear what you think, so get involved in the comment section down below and let us know your thoughts on that one.
On with the race news.
Yeah.
Because there's more. So there was another Ironman, and that was Ironman France down in Nice. Rudy von Berg took the win there in his Ironman debut, no less. So congratulations to him. William Meninson from France in second, and Arthur Horseau in third.
Yeah, and on the women's side, it was Svenja Toes that took the win ahead of Alexandra Tondieu and Gabriela Zelinka in third.
And then we also had 70.3 Mont Tremblant in Canada. As we said earlier, Flora Duffy was not able to start that one. Lionel Sanders took the win there on the men's side, despite getting onto his bike in T1 and finding it had a puncture. He fixed that, lost a few minutes, then managed to bike all the way back up to the guys. And at some point during that race, he lost a tooth. We're not really sure the story behind that. More news on that coming in the future. Thomas Rodriguez Hernandez from Mexico was second, and Jackson Laundrie from Canada was in third.
Very impressive performances. On the women's side, it was Tamara Jewett that took the win ahead of Amber Ferreira, and then in third, Rachel Olsen.
And then back to this side of the pond, and we had Challenge Volsy Kaiserwinkel in Austria. Frederick Funk took the win there ahead of Sam Long, who had the fastest run split, wasn't able to run down Frederick Funk. And Bitados Panagiatos from Greece was in third.
Fantastic pronunciation, that's very good. On the women's side, it was Simone Kumhofer that took the win ahead of Lotte Wilms, and in third, Amy Zimmerman.
And then we're on to short course racing. Over in WTCS Montreal, there was the Eliminator, which we covered last week.
It sounds like they had a really tough weekend, albeit short. The guys sounded exhausted.
Yeah, a big weekend of racing. So essentially it started on Friday with a qualifier race. If you made it straight through in the top 10, you were in for the next day. If you didn't get in those top 10, you then had to race a repechage, so a second race on that Friday. Those Friday races were duathlons because there was a problem with the water quality. So they had to do a 2.5K, a short run, and then the bike, and then another short run. So duathlon, slightly harder than a triathlon, in my opinion. So yeah, they got through to Saturday, and then on Saturday they had the Eliminator, where they had 30 athletes knocked down to 20, knocked down to 10 over 3 races with only about 10 minutes in between those races. So really fast and furious racing.
Okay, so as for the results, it was Georgia Taylor-Brown that was fastest on all 3. She took the win ahead of Cassandra Beaugrand by just literally a few seconds. And in third, Beth Potter.
Yeah, it was exciting racing though on that Saturday with the elimination. Obviously, you keep your powder dry for the first 2 races as far as you can, but still make that final 10 to get in. It didn't work out so well for the men. There was a bit of drama. First, there was a disqualification in the swim for cutting the course, and then there was a penalty. Alex Yee had a really bad transition on the first one, and he had to really work hard to catch up. He did make it through the first round, and then in the second round, he had a really poor swim. And again, he was off the back of the bike. He had to really bike hard to get back up. He did. And then he ran through and he got through again. And then on the final round, Hayden Wild, who had literally been cruising the first two, dropped his chain on the bike. And he lost quite a lot of time. And he said he did his peak ever 5-minute power to get back on that group, which he did. And then it came down to a running race. Obviously, Alex E had done things a bit better in that final race. And he managed to catch Hayden Wild, who went out of T2 first, run him down and take the win. So Alex E took the win on the day, Hayden Wild in second, and Leo Berger of France in third. It was pretty exciting racing. I really enjoyed it. I must say, I missed the third race. I fell asleep. It'd have been a long day of looking after the kids. And there's this 10 or 15 minute transition in between the races, and they're kind of not doing anything. They're getting their transition ready. It is interesting to see how they recover, and they're taking gels and trying to keep themselves cool. It was a 30-degree day in Montreal. So it was interesting to see, but it was also a little bit slow waiting for that. And what they could maybe have done is alternate the men's and women's. Have the women's race, and within a minute of them finishing, have the men's race start, and then within a minute of them, etc. That would have been non-stop racing, and I probably wouldn't have fallen asleep.
Logistically quite hard for them on their end, but...
Oh, yeah, that's not my
great,
problem.
Yeah. At the same event, we also had the Junior Triathlon World Championships. Well, actually, it was a duathlon, but anyway. And the winner on the men's was Thomas Hansmanel from France. And then on the women's side, we had Tilda Manson.
And then the next day, as if they hadn't already done enough racing for the weekend, they had the Mixed Relay World Championships. So obviously all those people who had raced up to 5 races in the days before had to race another race. France took the title there, Mixed Relay World Champions, and that's automatic qualification for Paris 2024. Great Britain took second and also get the qualification for Paris 2024 Mixed Relay, so that's done and signed and sealed for them. We'll see them there, and USA took third.
Yeah, I did actually see, talking of them being quite tired, the Belgian team decided to step out of that race because they were all just spent after all that racing.
Can imagine.
Fair enough. Yeah. We do have a lot of racing coming up, or at least exciting racing this coming weekend. We have Challenge Roth, which... not only have we got a big pro field, we also have Quinn from our team here, who is going to be doing not only his first triathlon, but a 9-distance triathlon at Challenge Roth.
Yeah, good luck to Quinn. We have been supporting him as much as we can to help him get over that line, but he has, bitten off quite a big challenge.
But you'll get to see all of this on the channel, so don't worry, you're not going to miss out.
We are making a video. Of course, we film everything. So we're filming a video on that. That's coming soon. We also have Ironman Austria this weekend, and 70.3 Andorra, 70.3 Ecuador, and 70.3 Les Sables in France.
Right, now moving on to take a look through some of the things that you guys have sent in to us. And don't forget, you can send in any photos or videos of you training, racing, hacks on your bike, whatever you like, using the photo uploader link on screen right now, or description just down below. This week, we've got this one to kick off with from Alison in Dubai. She's saying she's counting herself lucky to be able to swim in an Olympic arena. Amazing swim facility right on her doorstep. And look at that.
Look at that. That is quite the facility.
Also, look at the fact that there's only 3 other swimmers or something.
Got it all to yourself. That is living in luxury. I imagine it's pretty warm too, which is all I really care about in a pool. Yeah. Also, we have this one from Phil from Ironman 70.3 Staffordshire. He said he finally completed his first and possibly only 70.3 as a tribute to an old friend who passed away from cancer in Easter. Condolences to your friend and his family. But why you're only 70.3?
Yay.
Definitely do another one.
You look so happy right there, so come on. You got
everyone says that at the finish line, but a week or 2 later, they're entering another one.
Yeah, well, don't forget to send in your photos. Use that photo uploader, link below.
Okay, now it's time for the caption competition. And last week we had this photo from 70.3 Vapperswil of a cow looking at a triathlete. Now, a lot of you went along the same route here, so I'm going to read a few of them out quickly because, they weren't very inspired. Didi Salo said, "You've got to move it. Appetite for Rose also said, Cow, if only you could get away with being butchered like you have been, getting dropped by those fast-moving riders ahead. Marta Machado said, you better get moving, mate. Roger Cottrell said, wow, you're really moving. Jenny Williams said, you'll never get to the finish line unless you move along faster.
I think they're great. Well done.
Well, let's move along, shall we? Len Ritrock said, getting dropped from a tri can feel a bit like getting put out to pasture.
Like it. Nice one. Barek said, just out for another lactose threshold 1 ride with my mates.
See what you did there, lactose threshold. Now, these next two had great ideas, but then kind of dropped the ball on the punchline. Savage Pro said, well, here comes something for the dairy diary, calves on wheels. We put together, triathletes have calves, but then the punchline, yeah. And then Lisa Pett also said, if you see Red Bull, say hi from me, which was clever because lots of athletes are sponsored by Red Bull, but didn't do it for me. So our winner this week is...
The winner, and this is a good one because not only is it referencing cows, but it's also our discussion last week about closed roads. It comes from Andy Taylor. The locals have a beef with the roads being closed, or so I've heard.
Heard. Get it, heard. Yeah, very clever. Okay, get in touch with us and we'll get a bottle out for you. Congratulations for winning the caption competition. This week, we have this photo from from WTCS Montreal of Alex Yee drinking champagne out of his shoe. I'm going to go with, looking at his face. I think the champagne is off. No one drink the champagne.
This is really bad, but I'm going to go for, does anyone else think this champagne tastes cheesy?
Oh, that is
cheese.
That is
cheesy.
Bad. What about EU? I reckon you guys can probably do better than us. So leave your caption in the comments down below and you could be winning next week. And that's it for this week's show. Coming up on the show this week, we have a interesting video on triathlon fueling for beginners where we take you through everything you need to know about your nutrition for race day.
Yeah, this should be a really good resource. And if you haven't already done so and watched it, we have our Welsh Three Peaks video where James and I, we had quite an emotional day in Wales, going from North to South Wales and hitting the 3 highest and most iconic peaks within Wales and cycling between them. So please do go give that a watch because it's a cracking vid.
It was a tough day.